Hey there, and welcome back to this week's edition of Ask Ron, where our Gold Club members' questions get answered by Ron Legrand himself. I've got Ron here with me. How are you doing today, Ron?
I'm looking right out at that big old blue sky, and what a beautiful day here in Jacksonville, Florida.
Yeah, very fortunate, very fortunate. One thing I do want to remind everyone of, this is a benefit for our Gold Club members. So if you are not yet a Gold Club member, how can they get signed up, Ron?
Go to ronsgoldclub.com. You'll see several options, and we just launching right now our new Dreams Pro system, and you'll hear about that on there as well.
That's right.
It's an amazing tool.
All right. Well, first question I got for you this week, Ron, comes from Brian Lucy. He says, so the deal that I was working on, I got signed on Friday, 9/20/24. Then through some discussion with the sellers over the weekend, I got an email on Tuesday saying they wanted to cancel. When I probed for why, they said my financial advisor told me to go another route after talking more about it. What would you have told them?
I think they probably got a higher offer, Brian. And honestly, there's not much you're going to want to do about it. You have a legal binding contract, but you don't want to get into any kind of a lawsuit with these folks when you got nothing invested in it and nothing to lose but the deal. What I've done a couple of times when that happened to me is I say, okay, well, you can consider the contract canceled. But I go down, back then I went down and recorded a memorandum of option, so they couldn't sell it without me signing off on it. That tells me if I record something on public record that has to be cleared up before they sell, somebody's going to get back to me, and I'm going to know very quickly that they're selling it to somebody else. But other than that, I don't think you should do anything about it. Take it as a lesson and move on.
All right. Next up, this one comes from Tony and Angie Stewart. They said, hey, Ron, I know you were always looking for new topics, and I know you recently did a YouTube video on how to buy your own home. Sometimes I heard about in RIA meetings, heard about the Section 121 exclusion. The Section 121 exclusion is an IRS rule that allows you to exclude from taxable income a gain of up to $250,000 from the sale of your principal residence. Is this a strategy that I can use to sell my house on a lease option after 2 years?
Well, you can indeed. You better get up on that, the parameters of that ruling. As I can recall, Tony, you have to sell it within 2 years after you move out of it. Put a lease option buyer in there that doesn't apply. You're going to turn it into a rental house with rental house taxes. On the other hand, if you're not making a big profit on it, it doesn't really make any difference. I just sell it for cash if you want to sell it, because I know you got a loan in your own name. And that's worries me more about more than any tax consequences of selling your house. Usually your house is going to be exempt from taxes because it is your residence. So actually, you just go on Google and get the answer to that. Because I'm a little cloudy on myself. I know there's a 2-year window there. I just don't know the full details on it.
All right. Next question comes from Robert Straker. He says, hey, Ron, how are you and the rest of the global publishing gang doing right now that Hurricane Helene has passed through the area of your state? Did anyone get hurt? Are any of the office buildings damaged at all? And he said that he was concerned about everyone.
Okay, well, thanks for your concern. But the truth is, it went right by us. We hardly got any effects of it whatsoever. Got some rain, got some winds, went way to the west of us. So again, we were lucky. We, I feel sorry for those folks up there in Georgia and North Carolina. Boy, they've been wiped out. They got to start all over. Their houses have been collapsed, and some of them have been 5-6 feet of water. I mean, I feel for them. I really do. But here we just keep getting lucky. I shouldn't be saying that out loud though, because there's more coming in, as I understand it. But if it comes up on the east side, it always curves, goes North Carolina, because we're in that big dent on the map. Comes up from the west side, for some reason it usually just curves northwest and and it doesn't come across to us. So I can't tell you why, but we've been really lucky so far. We haven't been hit with a hurricane in Jacksonville since 1964. A lot of them went by us, but we haven't been hit with one, period.
Yeah, we've been pretty fortunate here for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, is there a penalty if you back out on a purchase and sale agreement for a lease option or a wraparound mortgage?
First of all, lease options and mortgages, two totally different worlds now. If you back out on, I think you mean backing out on buying it, I guess, purchase and sale agreement. You have no penalty if you back out on buying it, except the amount of the earnest money deposit, which in my world was $10, $100 max for sale by owner. And if you back out, in other words, you can back out anytime up to the point to where you actually have committed yourself to make a payment. Now, on a lease purchase, you got to understand however many years you put on it as you're leasing this house, you're personally liable for all those payments. That's why I don't ever do a lease option in your name. Always have an LLC be the lessee, the one that's making the payments to the lessor, the owner of the property. But you can back out of any of these contracts. In fact, the lease option contract doesn't even have a deposit on it because there's nothing for you to back out of. Because when you get that thing signed, when you get it signed, okay, you're kind of obligated, but you're not going to have any punishment if you back out of it. Now, when you get into these things and you take title to one, you don't have any personally guaranteed debt there. You better not have. They're not letting me find out about it. Same with a lease option. So what happens after you actually take title of the thing and actually put people in the house or try to sell the house or whatever, there really isn't still much they can do except foreclose on the house if it's a wraparound mortgage, and then they're foreclosing on your land trust. Your name is not even, you're not personally liable for anything, which is why I teach. Don't put yourself in a position of being personal liable, and you don't have to worry about things like that. Truth is, most of the time, very rarely will you ever have any kind of issue. And if you do, just get help and we'll deal with it when it comes, because there's no issue with real estate that can't be solved and has been solved thousands of times before you came into the business.
All right. Next up, can you do a 1031 on a land trust?
Yes. When you do a 1031, the house was selling is in a land trust. You got to take title to the whatever you're exchanging into as well in that same name. But that doesn't stop 1031.
All right. And then last question I got for you, Ron. How long do you recommend making the contract with the original seller and the tenant buyer when you do wraps or lease options? Really, whenever you do the terms business.
When I'm buying, I always put 30 days to close. I don't take that long, but I put that on there. When I'm selling, I give the tenant buyer a 2-year term to pay me off. And frankly, I make it very clear, don't worry about it. If you haven't paid me off in 2 years, I'm not going to boot you out of the house. But, we might change the terms at that point. So I think that's the answer. I give them 2 years on the lease, and I give the seller 30 days for me to close when we're buying. And then, of course, on a lease option agreement, you have to tell the seller when you're going to start making payments, and that's right there in the agreement, and you just fill in the blank on it.
All right. Well, that's all the questions that I have for you, Ron. Is there anything that you wanted to say to the people today?
Well, I think you guys have probably been told by now that November, I got coaxed into doing a live bus tour, and we're going to do it here in Jacksonville, go through some ugly houses and figure out what we should pay for them. You'll also see some pretty houses. If I have any available at that time, I've only got one pretty house on the market right now on my own, but we'll show you some of Jay's rehab houses, and you'll see what a rehab should look like. But it's going to be a one-time only deal. That's the quick start event here in Jacksonville. Of course, all your repeats are invited as well. You know the rules. Free if you're within a year, $500 if you're past your year. But we got a cap on this whole thing of 100 people, because that's how much 2 buses will hold. And we can't stretch them. That's all I can think of right now.
All right. Well, I appreciate it, Ron, and we'll see everyone else next week.
All right. Go get something going. You're running out of year, folks. Go get some contracts. We'll generate some leads.
That's right. Have a good one, Ron. Thank you.
All right. Bye.